Hi, my fellow Gooners, humans, and everything in between. Concourse TV in the place to be. Let's jump straight into it. I've spoken a lot about players from outside of the Premier League that could do a job for us and taking us to the next stage. However, I'm someone that has always spoken about players that are within the league already that can bring us further along in this journey and this process and can also bring something to this team. So I would say for about the last 5 seasons, I would say I've always produced a smart signing list and looked at every club intensively throughout the Premier League to find players that I believe can slot into our team, whether as first team players or squad depth, rotational players that can still bring something to the team when it matters. So let's jump straight into it. I'm sure most of you know who this person is above my head right here. This is Iliman Ndiaye. Now he is one that causes a bit of division within the fan base. Some think he is of the level to bring something different to our team, and some think he's just not levels enough. And for me, I've seen enough to see that he could bring something to our left wing that we're missing. I believe he brings a bit of Trossard, but he brings a bit of Martinelli, and the main thing he brings is IQ, football IQ, and a lot of these players have pace. They are just pace merchants, but they've got nothing going on beyond the eyes except running fast and figuring it out once they get to the last part of the journey, and that's the part where they need to finish off the move, and that's where it breaks down. I don't believe that happens with Ndiaye. For me, if we can't find what we need in accordance with the Tier A signings I've spoken about, Tier B and Tier C, we seriously need to consider looking into Ndiaye, because he can play left wing, he can play right wing, he can even play centre midfield. This is something Arteta looks for, versatility in his players to play multiple positions and well and be good on the ball. It's not just about what you do in possession, it's what you do off the ball and out of possession, and I believe he brings a lot of those qualities. So Ndiaye is someone I feel is very underrated, severely overlooked. I think because people see him week in, week out, and he's not the sexy, exotic name from abroad, they downplay his abilities, and that's never been my thing. So I believe he can bring something to the side, especially for the left wing, and I believe he causes a conversation, an uncomfortable conversation, because I don't think he straight away walks into this side ahead of Tzoles, but I believe he starts that conversation as to who starts, Ndiaye or Tzoles. A guy that's been in the Premier League recently, or a guy that was in the Premier League, went elsewhere and came back to the Premier League. Who wins that battle? I don't know, but I'm interested to see how it would play out if we did sign him. Let's move on to the next target. Now, I know most of you know this guy, Brian Brobby. Now, I used to watch this guy intensively within the Eredivisie, and he has shocked me with how far along he has come in terms of improvement to his game. When he was playing for Ajax, he had potential, he had pace, he had strength, he had hold-up play, he had ability, but finishing was awful sometimes. He used to miss sitters, he used to make clangers of passes and assists, and I just thought, what do Ajax see in this guy? Now they've sold him to Sunderland, and for Sunderland, he had an incredible breakout season. And by his standards, I think that season for Sunderland was better than any of his seasons I've seen at Ajax. He's completely flipped my thinking in regards to him. I believe he brings something completely different to our attack. It's the kind of striker, he's combative, like Gyökeres, but he has a good first touch. He can bring people into the game. He can hold defenders off. He can run into space. He can do a lot of things Gyökeres can't do and offers us something different. Whether we would get this kind of deal done, that's another story. But I want to see us looking actively within the league, not just the sexy exotic names that sell shirts and merch and all that other jazz talk. I look at players that genuinely can bring something to this side. I don't think he starts ahead of Gyökeres, but I mean he gives him a really good run for his money because they both got similar games, similar output. I feel that he could potentially replace Kai Havertz and Jesus. The only thing with Brobbey is his heading ability isn't of the Kai Havertz level. So I feel like at the moment that is Kai Havertz's trump card against any strikers moving in, is that he has headers top of his collection, and a lot of strikers don't header. They don't want to mess up their trims or something. I don't know what it is, but in my era of Duncan Ferguson's and these guys liked the header. These guys, get in there. Teddy Sheringham's, Chris Armstrong's. These guys liked to do diving headers, headers from corners. It's like players don't want to header anymore. And it looks like we've regressed into now it being defenders that are scoring corners from headers. Gabriel's, John Terry's, Von Dijk's, the list goes on and on. It looks like it's just a defender thing at the moment. And strikers and midfielders are saying, hey, my job's to pass and make assists. My job's not to header. This is a HD cuts trim. I can't mess this up. I just got this fade. And what's happening here? The football game's completely changed and we have to adapt to it. So Brian Brobbey, I think he's definitely in the mix, at least to have a conversation about him coming to Arsenal. What that looks like, rotational most likely. I don't think he starts ahead of Gyökeres, but I believe he's in the mix to at least be in the conversation as a striker we could look at, and I don't think it would be too expensive to get done. Let's move on to the next target. Now, last but not least, this guy right here, Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, I've been a fan of Morgan Gibbs-White for a hot minute. I don't think he puts up the numbers he should be doing for a player of his ability, but all the raw attributes and things that are part of his game, I believe he could bring so much more in a club like Arsenal, where we dominate most of the ball for, I'd say, at least 80% of the game. And I believe his on-the-ball qualities, his off-the-ball qualities, his tackling ability is something that's often overlooked. I believe he brings a lot to our cam role. He does the things that Eze doesn't do. And defending, getting back, getting stuck in, finding the passes, controlling the game, something I feel Eze's still missing, which is what I need to see this season. But I believe every player in every team needs competition, and Eze doesn't have that right now. Actually, if you look at our squad holistically, the 10 role's free. We've got Eze that turns up when he wants, moments, man, I call him. And then we have Odegaard, who's not a 10, who tries to do the 10 thing. So one time out of 10 times, he turns on the flavour, and then everyone's going, oh my gosh, Odegaard. Drop me out. We need a real number 10 to feed our striker because he is struggling. And it's because we're trying to play in wingers that are not in sync. They're not running off him. They're behind him. So everything Gyökeres is doing is building play. And I'm fed up of seeing us play like this. I want to see our wingers running in behind so they can actually play off him. And I believe if you've got someone that's a true 10, like Morgan Gibbs-White, I believe he frees up a lot of pressure that is on Gyökeres' shoulders at the moment. That's the end of this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if I missed anyone that's also an EPL signing. Laters.